everyone, and welcome to another episode of the RIP Tour podcast. I am your tour guide, Ash. Yes, I'm stuck again with hosting duties. Nobody wanted to step up. I'm missing you, Tim. I wish you were here because I think you'd have stepped up. But special episode. We had a full week of Halloween Horror Nights announcements, all originals. They hit us with 6, 5 back-to-back, but 6 in total in the stretch of like 9 days or so. So special episode to go over our sort of initial reactions, hype, and to have Gary on as well to talk about the 3 he missed from midweek. So again, I can't do this alone. I'm going to actually start with Gary. We've missed you, Gary. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. I won't lie, I did have major FOMO during the week when all the announcements were dropping. I know I spoke to you guys and stuff, but I was actually quite busy at work, which I know you may surprise you, Ash. So I did tend to miss the announcements until like a couple hours later. But it was fun. It was fun to get 6 announcements. But it was good to get like a Monday to Friday of announcements, which to me was just absolutely crazy. All at the same time as well. So hats off to Universal for nailing it this year for the announcement schedules. Again, I did have the FOMO when you guys were recording the show, but I was listening. I was always listening in the background. So you did a great job while I was away, but I'm excited to be back.
Nice. Yeah, very, very happy to have you back, of course. And Jason, how you been?
I've been fantastic. How's everyone doing? Missed you, Gary. Happy you're back on the show and we can listen to thoughts and everybody. I am a little full from all the announcements, I think, with everybody. Jam-packed, but happy to be here.
Nice. And last but not least, Liz, how are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. It was a Christmas Halloween week, I think. Every morning was like Christmas morning, waiting to get our new announcement at 10:33. And while I'm tired from it, it was a busy week. I'm going to be a little sad this next week when we just go back into normal life and don't have that to look forward to every day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm glad you mentioned that because that's my next question is, I'll start with you, Gary, just because at work this week, I knew everything was coming at 10:33, right? Once we got towards the middle to the end of the week. So if I was working and it was past 10:33 and I thought, I've just missed it, I'd go back to my phone. I've got 20 messages, 40 Messenger on Facebook. I've got 50 Twitter notifications. So yeah, they've announced something. But I know in your sort of intro, you said, you like this. Would you preferred to have them split up a little bit, or are you happy with the boom, 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 5 in a row?
It's a double-edged sword, really, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes, we're very excited. We're all, Horror Nights nerds, hence why we do this show. But now we've got nothing until we get the 4 IPs in the shows. But again, because this is quite early again for them to drop so many announcements. But if you think about it, Horror Nights starts August now. So, it's getting earlier and earlier. So the announcements maybe have to be coming a little bit earlier. And it's not as if we're not going to get nothing. We've got, 4 IPs to come. And we've got 1 or 2 shows. And the Horror Nights food is a big part of the event now. So that's
Scare
sort of
zones.
gets it. Yep, scare zones as well. Yes, totally forgot. But like the food and stuff as well is a big part of the event. So that tends to now get its own announcement. So I think we've still got quite a lot to go. We're only 4 months away, or 3 and a bit months, is it, away now? So we've still got quite a lot to go, really, in terms. So if that's spread out evenly between now and, say, the first week of August, we're still going to have a pretty packed announcement season.
Yeah,
I think it's like 96 days.
Oh,
96 days, something like that.
Yeah,
so if you add 4 IPs, 5 scare zones, 1 to 2 shows, plus the food and drink offerings, that's still quite a lot to announce 1-2 things a week, or 1 thing a week or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and they normally give us those announcements in sort of a lump anyway, recent times. So having them back to back is not too far from what we usually get anyway. I'll stick with you, Gary, because we've already done our thoughts on it. But are you surprised? Is all originals off the bat?
Yeah, normally we know that they do lead with the big IP, if you want to say, to draw the crowds in. But I think Horror Nights is its own beast now, where you don't necessarily have to lead with a huge IP to draw the crowds in. I think the originals sometimes do quite easily trump the IPs. And every year we pick up more and more followers, Horror Nights fans on the bandwagon. And it's a good thing to for the originals to get some love. People are worried that the IPs are going to be a little bit lackluster. I don't think it necessarily means that. I just think that Universal are proud of what they can create and enough to put them out before the IPs. I think that really speaks for the event itself.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely nowhere near going to be lackluster, I'm sure. Maybe they think they don't have like that real anchor IP to lead with first, maybe. That could be part of the issue. Maybe we're supposed to get an IP. Not necessarily fell off, but maybe an IP was supposed to go a little bit earlier. For some reasons, they've sort of pulled that announcement for whatever reason. But yeah, so let's get into it. What I want to start with first is something we didn't really talk about just because we focused on these announcements. It's the commercial and the sort of teasers we've been getting. So all the teasers are linked from Halloween Horror Nights 30, really, where Jack was sort of underneath the streets of New York there, or underneath Universal itself. A lot of the teasers were these sort of like sewage drains or the grates, what's underneath Universal. And we did get a feature length, like a minute and 40 seconds, like a teaser trailer for this year's before we got any of these houses. So let's go ahead. We'll play this now and then we'll talk about it. Just to kind of in a nutshell, okay, again, under Universal, it's funny because it sort of gives me like Stranger Things vibes, right? And it's sort of like what I can explain as like it's almost like an egg or something like hatching. And when it hatches, it creates such like a big noise and everything shakes. And I love it how it cuts up to Universal itself, and like the windows are shaking. It cuts out to the arches, and sort of the red glow is above the studios. But definitely Stranger Things coded in probably not a Stranger Things year. So what do we think? And I'll go reverse order. Liz, just in terms of the commercial, are we expecting something a little bit bigger coming out of this? Like what is sort of hatching, or what was that thing, I guess?
Yeah, when we first saw this commercial, I was all of a sudden thinking, are we getting some sort of different icon? Because it came out of left field. It's not anything to do with an IP that we could tell. It doesn't have anything to do with the original houses that we know now. So I'm not sure if this is like the overarching theme for the year, that this creature is been festering under Universal and now it's been let loose. But then also the tweet said, or the Instagram, whatever it was, it said the gate has been opened. And then all of a sudden we got a floodgate worth of information with all the originals. So yeah, I don't know if these two things are related, that the evil's been let loose. Are we going to see some sort of new creepy icon that's kind of in the same realm of fear? Like it kind of has a fear feeling to it. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, good thoughts. And Jason, are you on the same boat, whether we may get an icon, or has the door been opened and then what's been let loose are the sort of monsters, enemies, villains are what's going to be in these houses, if that makes sense.
I definitely think, the door's been open, but it's definitely an unknown right now. You kind of let your head, do the guessing. Is it going to be an icon coming somewhere in the future, or is it just a red herring for us to all speculate and think about? But I do agree with Liz 100% saying, the flood, the gates are open, and then we just got bam, 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 bam for announcements within a week's time frame on that. I will say whoever did the directing of the commercial, I love the egg vibes. It gave me a lot of Alien feel to it. For any Alien fan out there, or Aliens, you might have enjoyed that. But I want to go back to the commercial where it panned and went to the front gates of the arches, and you see the reflection of something that was above the arches, and that thing was huge, and we don't know what it is or what it could be. Maybe it's something we'll see in the future, we don't know, but that's one eye catcher thing for me was in that commercial, was that reflection.
Yeah, and Gary, what about you? I know you mentioned sort of like Mind Flayer vibes. Did you like the commercial? Did you like? I bet you loved how it was shot too.
Yeah, I really missed that in the last couple of years where they didn't have a lot of sort of cinematic stuff. I really thought they add a lot to the event, especially for like a geek like me that loves cinematic stuff. Just to touch on what Jason said with the egg and the monster and stuff. I did think it resembled the monster from A Quiet Place. So whether they're setting something up for that, because again, that's heavily rumored. We did tweet that out a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of people did sort of see the similarities. I wasn't saying it was exactly the same, but it had quite a lot of similarities. But who knows? The Horror Nights don't seem to do something for nothing. So I think they are planting a seed for either something this year, or it could be something in the next coming years. Who knows? But either way, I did really enjoy the way that they filmed this.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I loved it. I love the cinematography, if you will. Yeah. And yeah, maybe that sort of like egg opening, and we saw maybe, a monster from A Quiet Place. I'm thinking, is it opening and all these like monsters are coming out, and they're how we get each maze, right? We've done that before, where an overarching story, all the houses are sort of connected. So who knows? Like you said, we're going to get more of these trailers and other things as well. I wanted to ask you, Gary, as well, because we talked about it. Are you surprised or not surprised because they haven't done it in recent times, probably since 28, that we got no commercials with the originals?
Yeah, I loved the little small videos that they made for the originals. I thought it added like a third dimension to, to go with the artwork. Then you've got the description, then you had the video. I thought that was so cool how they did that, because an original has to be sold before you get into it, because you don't know what it's about. So, we could talk about these originals now, and all we've got to go off is the artwork and the description. With a video, it just adds that extra dimension where you think, oh wow, this story is going to be amazing once you go through it. So I do miss that they do that, but again, I can see budgeting and stuff like that with the IPs that they try to get now. Maybe some of that budget's just, sucked away a little bit to pay for those.
Yeah, because I think even 28, I'm just bringing 28 up because that's when we didn't get a Scary Tales one, but we got Dead Exposure, Carnival Graveyard, Slaughter Sinema. So just to have those little bits with it would be nice, as opposed to like a little sentence plus the actual artwork for it. Discover Universal podcast will probably do something for each of the original mazes, which I'm looking forward to, because they sort of give you that backstory and help sort of bridge those knowledge gaps that we have with the houses as well. So let's get to it. Let's get to why we're here. I'm just pulling up my phone here because I want to go over the sort of little tidbit with it as well. So let's just start with the most recent announcement that none of us has talked about on here yet. So we've got Haunted House announcement, Triplets of Terror. You're invited to the Barmy Triplets birthday bash, but beware, they celebrate by recreating their family's murders. Prepare for a gory gathering. Okay, so I'll keep going like backwards and forwards. So Liz, we'll start with you. We'll go backwards. Just initial thoughts and reaction, because we haven't talked about it yet at all, to Triplets of Terror.
Yeah, this one was a complete surprise, which rarely happens for me these days. But this one just caught me off guard. I was not expecting this concept. I know on the speculation maps, we had this unknown original sitting there for a while, and that is in fact what this one was. It was the unknown original. And so that was really fun, just actually being completely surprised, had no hint of what this one was going to be. And so I think a lot in the community are surprised by this one. I think it's going to be an original take on a slasher. And I applaud the team for kind of going left field and doing something different. I don't know what to expect from this one. The artwork is very different than all the rest. It seems to be promising to be gory. And I'm excited to see an original take, an original story, and see where it takes us.
Yeah, I think left field is definitely the correct word choice for this one. Because like you said, Liz, because we know people, we hear things, so there's not too many now that come, wow, I was not expecting that, right? So, and even when we do know things that are crystal, we don't post it. I always like to say we never ruin the integrity of the event for anybody, for clicks and likes, whatever it may be, but left field for sure. I'll go over my sort of thoughts at the end, but Jason, Triplets of Terror. Jason's doing his best ventriloquist impression.
That was my fault. I was going to say, I don't know what to think of it just yet. When I first saw the artwork, I was like, well, this kind of looks like House of a Thousand Corpses. But after thinking about it, I really want to see what Universal does with what Liz said. This is their take on a slasher. And I'm speculating, but I think this might be hopefully, fingers crossed, our gore house for the event this year. And especially seeing their favorite kills on their special day. We'll see what's going to happen with that. We're going to see, birthday cake, something going along those lines in the house. But with what we've seen this week, I've seen a lot of unknowns, and I kind of like it, just how it's revealing very little. So I'm going to go into it blind, and I'm going to be very happy about it.
Okay. Yeah, this is why I like going last on this, so I can get your thoughts first. But I mean, when you mentioned House of a Thousand Corpses, I can see that a little bit as well. I hope it, like, with Rob Zombie stuff, is just weird. I hope it's sort of that weird vibe too. But yeah, gory. I mean, just the artwork. I mean, the artwork's not great, if I'm being totally honest. But yeah, I definitely get gory from it as well. Gary, thoughts? Triplets of Terror.
I don't want to sound too negative on this one. I do agree with everyone's comments. The artwork isn't great. It stands out like a sore thumb from the rest of the art. At first, when you just open your phone and have a look, you think, oh, we're getting sort of like Universal's take on The Strangers, because it looks like quite similar. And I didn't think the description was very good either, to be honest. But again, like Jason said, I think this is going to be the gore house, and I think it could be a bit of a sleeper house that I think is going to surprise us. If we do get the gore and we do get the sort of corpses vibe that we had from that house, I think it could turn out to be a very good house. But out of all the originals we've got, to me, this is sort of the weakest.
Okay, I can see that completely. I know I said it last time, the age I was saying don't judge a book by its cover, but just the artwork on it is kind of giving me, we saved this one for last, but like Liz said, complete left field for me as well, so I don't know what to expect. The sort of birthday vibe was giving me sort of HR Blood and Guts at first, right? But then we're not going to go through different sort of holidays, but I love the fact they're going to recreate their best kills in maybe different birthday settings. Now, let me ask you, in terms of, I'll go Gary and then backwards, like the facade maybe, again, are we expecting this to be in one of the sprung tents, I would assume, right?
So the thing Liz? That I first thought about this, oh, sorry, I thought you were going to me first, sorry.
No, Gary, because Liz was shaking her head when I said tent, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a soundstage.
Okay, so then back to Gary then, in terms of facade and what we're expecting to see in the maze.
So for the first thing that came to my head when I thought of a facade was sort of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre style house, like a rundown redneck house in the middle of the woods, sort of like a Hills Have Eyes type thing. And I think it's going to be a disgusting house. I think we're going to have bad smells, and I think we're going to probably see some like human sacrifices maybe as a human birthday cake, something crazy like that. That's just my thoughts, but definitely for the facade, I think it's going to be a sort of a redneck hillbilly style house in the woods.
Okay. Now I can completely picture it now. Has anybody played Resident Evil 7?
Yes.
The baker's house.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is like a birthday party in there as well, with the brother in there. So I've got that completely now, Gary. That's definitely what this is going to be. It's giving me the what's the I don't want to offend anybody in this day and age, but what's the inbred? Was it Wrong Turn?
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Not Hills Have Eyes. Yep, Wrong Turn. Yeah,
Wrong Turn. Yeah, where it's like a family. That's giving me that. Now you've said it, I can't get away from that now. I feel like the sort of inbred, sort of like you said, disgusting smells. Everything's like festering and smelling bad, but they're celebrating a birthday party. That's definitely what I'm thinking now for sure. Jason, just in terms of, I know it's early days, but facade, anything you're expecting in the maze?
You guys kind of took the words directly out of my mouth. I'm thinking, run down. Let's say not a house, maybe a smaller house, like a cabin or something like that in the woods. Along the lines of, OG original Evil Dead, kind of that facade walking into, with some chairs on the out front of the porch, kind of thing like that in the back country. But I agree 100%. This, you saying it's going to reek, it's going to smell, it's going to be, I think it's going to be feel like wet. Maybe a storm's happened. Maybe we'll get some rain since, if it is in the soundstage, that would be kind of cool to see. Stormy night coming down, and then we walk into this house and see a birthday party going. So
yeah, I love it. And then Liz, I know it's early days, so this is a pure speculation, but anything you're expecting to be in there?
Yeah, I think it's just funny that we've all created our own mental images based off the little tiny logo
right.
and basically what the costumes that these characters are wearing, that we've all gone to like creepy shack in the woods. That's our first thought, seeing these masks. So I have no idea what to expect for this one. It's very vague, but I think we all went the same thought direction once we saw those characters on the logo. So curious to see what they'll do with it.
Watch it be a beautiful house. You just walk in,
yeah,
it's all
exactly.
rainbows and sunshines, and you're just looking at it, and you're like, well, I wasn't expecting that.
It could be because we don't necessarily know that we're celebrating at their house. So they might be creepy and dirty and dusty, but the setting might be gorgeous. We don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
Because I saw some comments saying this must be a Five Nights at Freddy's reskin because they're celebrating a birthday party. Is it going to be like that Chuck E. Cheese vibe? But I can't see that at all. And this is definitely not a reskin of an IP.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk online of this. Oh, they must have tried to get the strangers and it fell through, so they're just throwing this together. But that's definitely not the case. I didn't hear a single strangers rumor all season, so I don't think that was ever on the table. I think this is an original, and we never know. Maybe there was an IP that dropped out at some point, but it's not like a Hellblock horror case where they're throwing in an original last second. They make tons of originals and have them sitting there just in case. But this was not a hurried house.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely not a reskin of an IP that they already created, for sure. Any other thoughts on Triplets of Terror before I move on to the next one? Beautiful. So Thursday's announcement is from the West Coast. From the West Coast last year. We give them Scarecrow, so we had to get one back in return, right? So we have Haunted House announcement, Monstrous, the Monsters of Latin America. With La Muerta as your guide, you'll be begging for piedad, is that how you say it? Piedad? From these three terrifying legends. We have Tuelapuchi, La Lechuza, and El Silbon. If that offends anybody that I said those names wrong, don't unfollow us, please. I did my best. Okay. I was going to have Liz do it, but she forced me to do it. So Monstruos, the Monsters of Latin America. So we do have obviously a walkthrough of the West Coast. Our very good friends over at InsideUniversal, they did a capture POV through the house that we'll insert now, and then we'll have a quick talk about it.
A shape-shifting devil lives on the blood of children. Traveling creature, a shape-shifting devil lives on the blood of children.
All right, so Monstrous, Gary. Just from, I guess are we thinking it's going to be? It usually isn't, but are we thinking it's going to be a copy paste job, or do you think we're going to have similarities, but our course doing a little bit of a different take on it?
So I really should have watched the walkthrough of Hollywood before this, just so I could talk about it a bit more. But I haven't had a chance. So I know Liz shaking her head there. I need to do the homework a bit better.
I was actually shaking my head because I don't want to watch the walkthrough. I don't want to have it spoiled for myself.
That's a good point. Maybe I'll not watch it. I know people who do both course and stuff will like to compare stuff, but that's a very valid point, Liz. So maybe I'll not watch it. But anything to do with sort of Latin American folklore to me is already sort of scary and hold its place in the horror world. So I'm all down for this one. I love Chupacabra. I thought that was a fun take on a legend. So I'm excited for this one. And I think this is going to be a scary house.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, when I should have prefaced, hey, if you don't want to see the walkthrough, skip about 3.5 minutes. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So for somebody like me, I'm never going to pretend I am an expert on Hollywood. The next person I'm going to pass it to is more of an expert than I am, but I'll never pretend I am and post things about Hollywood because I don't know. I always watch their walkthroughs, though, of mazes we don't have. And I never knew this was coming to our course when I watched it last year, right? So I would never know. So I've seen the walkthrough. I have watched it again since, but I should have prefaced, hey, skip forward. But Jason, your thoughts? You didn't do this one, right? Did you skip Hollywood last year, or did you do it?
I skipped Hollywood last year. I'm going to Hollywood this year, but I skipped last year's.
Gotcha.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, I think they're going to use what worked best in Hollywood and then kind of throw a spin on our Orlando's take on it, which I would think. That way, if you do have, like we said, we have fans that go to both coasts, and they don't want to see a repeat of what Hollywood did last year. They want to see something fresh, something new, and they want to see Orlando's take of it. You may see some similarities of the house. And we're like, oh, that little piece, that little Easter egg was in Hollywood last year. This is in Orlando's this year, but I don't think we're going to see a carbon copy at all of what Hollywood had.
Yeah, good point. You know, the copy paste job for people who go coast to coast. Yeah, I think it will take the best, take what worked out there the best, incorporate it into our house, but obviously mix it up. Liz, I know you haven't watched a walkthrough or anything. I guess just initial reactions then, or anything you're expected in there.
Yeah, I did see some chatter that a lot of people that went to Hollywood, this was their favorite house from Hollywood last year. So the people who did see it last year in Hollywood seem very excited to be getting it on our coast. And I did see that these are the same stories they told in the house. So I assume they are really leaning in on taking some of the content that Hollywood used. But I looked up each one of these stories to learn more about the legend earlier this week, and all of them sound very scary. So I think taking urban legends, taking cultural folklore and turning it into haunted houses, I feel like it really works for Universal. And I'm interested to see what spin they put on it. Plus, we have the whole rumor that it's going to be kind of rainforest in there. And I love when they build the forests in the house. So I think this one could be a sleeper hit.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So obviously I've seen the walkthrough, and I know we're not doing hype list. This is very, very high on the hype list. The facade that they had in Hollywood was gorgeous. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I'll just sort of reference it. It's like a cemetery sort of setting for their facade. Absolutely gorgeous. Crypts in there, skeletons, and very, very like gives me La Llorona vibes through this as well. And yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to this one. I know typically Orlando do a better job for the most part. I know Hollywood have really stepped the game up recently, and some of their IPs have been, you know, I guess higher on the list than our IPs over in Orlando. We usually do those originals a little bit better, from my opinion. So I'm really looking forward to having our coast take on this. And yeah, I echo what you said. I think it's going to be scary. It's going to be dark. It's going to be creepy. And the 3 stories are really cool with it as well. So not giving too many spoilers that I already know. This is going to be very, very high on the list for me. Okay, next up. Let's have a look. What did we get? Oh, okay. So we haven't done this one either. Liz, this one's a house after your own heart. So haunted house announcement, the museum deadly exhibit. All right, you decide to visit the new folklore museum exhibit, the Rotting Stone, when an evil escapes from within, destroying everything in its path. So it's only right I go with Liz first, right? So we go the opposite way this time. Liz, talk to me. Museum.
Of course. So it's interesting because the Instagram description was just slightly different, where it says an evil spirit escapes from within, possessing the other displays and decaying everything in its path. So the Instagram description just gave us a little hint more of information that the museum's taken over by this evil spirit. And I assume the exhibits are going to come to life and be terrifying. So as I've said before, I started off as a museum curator. I've worked in museums, so I know that they're very creepy, or they can be. And so I am prepared to have this very high on my hype list, excited for it. Obviously, it was made for me. And I'm really curious to see what kind of folklore the Rotting Stone is about, because we had rumors on the speculation map that it was Egyptian, but this does not feel Egyptian whatsoever. So really curious to see what this folklore is at this museum.
Okay, so I'm very, very glad that you mentioned the Instagram post too, because I don't use Instagram, so I only got the Twitter post where it says it destroys everything in its path, right? And I was thinking, oh, I wish it was like where each exhibit comes to life and you go through each part of the museum, where it could be either Egyptian, Greek, Roman, whatever it may be, right? And I thought, oh, that's going to be so much better. Now it's just sort of one entity that's sort of after you in a museum. But now you've just explained that, where it possesses each sort of, I guess,
possesses
area.
The other displays, yeah. So
okay, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. There was a house from Halloween Horror Nights 7. And it was Universal's Museum of Horror. And that was it was sort of a Universal Monsters museum where all the sort of artwork and things come to life, and now they're after you. And I said, I wish I could see that again.
Yeah.
Universal Monsters, but I think this is even cooler to get the museum style out of it.
Yeah, and I think it gives plenty of opportunity to hide Easter eggs too. I'm sure there's going to be tons of props from previous years, even if it's not featured, just hidden in those museum displays. You could have all sorts of Halloween Horror Nights Easter eggs hidden in there.
Yeah, that's a great point too. So if this one's on the 3 house tour, I think we'll have to book that, Gary, to see all those Easter eggs in there. Jason, museum.
I'm curious, and this is a question for everybody. We know it takes place in a museum. Do we know where the museum is located? Does the town of Cary have a museum that we
probably
don't know about? Yeah. I'm just curious. But I'm actually pretty pumped about it. I'm excited. First thing that went to my head, I'm a huge Halloween 3 Season of the Witch fan. When they mentioned the stone, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my Silver Shamrock factory with the stone's hedge inside, and then it's leaving and it's possessing everything. That's just me. What I really want to see, and I hope, fingers crossed, that says it transforms and it goes to exhibit, that we walk through a room and there's statues in a plexiglass, cylinder on display, and there's an actual scare actor inside one of those glasses and just bangs on the glass itself, which would be really cool to see. I would say, I'm excited. I want to see Lizz leading the pack going through this house. Our local museum
tour guide,
ex-tour guide going through. That's right. That's correct. They did good there. And just, Lizz, we've already made the decision. You're going to do it for us.
I'll be critiquing the exhibits.
Critiquing, exactly. So I'm pretty pumped about it.
Yeah, and Jason, it's nice of you to assume Lizz will be still with us by that point, and not with some random people she's met. We can't find her for 3 hours.
Listen.
Oh, and last but not least, for the museum, Gary, initial thoughts? Anything you're expecting?
I do know I don't want to run the house with Lizz, because we'll get out that house and she'll just point out all of the mistakes that they've made. That doesn't happen in a museum. Museums wouldn't have an exhibit like that.
Where's the temperature control?
But I was on the same train as Jason, where I do hope they have exhibits inside the glass and they just bang or even pop out. I think that would be such a cool, effective scare, or drop down doors and stuff like that. But museums are creepy places. And I can't believe Universal's waited so long to do another museum house. Because I think it's such a cool setting. And like you said, Ash, I do want different things. I don't want to stick to just one, type of folklore. I want to walk through each room and it be a different setting, like you would in a normal traditional museum. I think that would add a lot to the storyline, but I'm hyped for this one.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, great point, Gary. I mean, we talked about this, that we're going to get to Slaughter Sinema, which is sort of hopefully it's a similar vibe where each sort of room is different. So like a medley that we were talking about. So I'm on the same page. This is right up there. It's so funny because I always like to do my hype list, and it changes all the way through, but it's difficult when you get literally a sentence about each maze. So you just sort of piecing it together, what it's going to look like. But we'll get more. We'll get more of that down the line. But yeah, museum, I think, is definitely high on each of our lists. Okay, so the one that was Wednesday or Tuesday? Tuesday. So we've talked about this. So we're gonna go Gary first. So haunted house announcement, major suite, candy factory. You've been invited to chaperone a field trip to a candy factory. The deadly delicious treats turn the kids into sugar-fueled fiends. All right. So Gary, major suites. I think you've got a little bit to say. So you lead us off. Initial thoughts. Are you happy this is getting the treatment of a house after a scare zone? Talk to me.
So I didn't enjoy the scare zone. I thought the theme was good. I just didn't think it was executed greatly. It wasn't awful. There's been worse scare zones. It was decent. I think the only saving grace for me in that zone was the floats that they used. But I thought everything else fell down a little bit. Am I excited that it's come back as a house? Yes. I do think the theme will work a lot better in a house than a zone. That New York zone, the last couple of years, is a hard zone to pull off because of how big and how busy it is. So I think a lot of the scare actors tend to get lost up in all of the traffic, and that seems to be because the tribute stores there. It seems to be where like quite a lot of people just hang out anyway. So when you're walking through that zone, there's just always big groups of people. So to try and find a scare actor in that zone sometimes is a little bit hard. But to see it in a house in a candy factory setting, I think it'll be really cool. I think it'll be creepy. I think it could either be a very dark house or it could be a very bright and vivid house. And if they don't pay tribute to the Willy Wonka Scotland experience, then I will be very, very upset. I want the unknown somewhere in that house.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're going to throw it in somewhere, I think.
Somewhere.
Yeah. So another question for you, Gary, then. So just in terms of like rumors and spec, I guess, this is obviously Fast and Furious queue until we hear anything else of where the actual location will be. Obviously, the last time we've had this, in the last couple of years, there's been no real facade. We're walking through the extended queue for Fast and Furious, and you sort of like end up in the maze, right? There's no real facade there. Are you expecting maybe, because it's sort of like a factory setting anyway, are you expecting any overlays, anything out of the realm of possibilities that we've not had in the last couple of years?
Fast and Furious is closed during Horror Nights, so that queue won't be getting used in the daytime, so could they put some things in the queue? I think that would be very cool. Whether they are just, refurbishing the ride, if they were just doing the sort of, the show building, the ride building, even if they don't have to fill the whole queue, but even just, the little bit where you go, where they had like the black phone and stuff projected onto the ceiling, even if they just put a few cool things around there, maybe there's a tunnel over the top of it. I can't see it happening, but I think it would be pretty cool if they did do something extra in that location as well.
Yeah, because it could just be coincidence that Fast and Furious is down for like maintenance, like, during Horror Nights.
It's quite a big maintenance like schedule though, isn't it? It's like closed like from August to like November, isn't it? So
yeah,
is it August and November or September, October?
I think it's even earlier than that, isn't it?
I think it's quite like ET was closed for like 10 days.
Yeah,
but like Fast and Furious is closed for like a good couple of months. So
and the event's starting earlier this year. So
yeah.
So maybe coincidence, maybe not. Maybe they want to do a little bit of like, throw some major sweets in there just to make it that little bit more immersive. And speaking of immersive, we've already had major sweets candy before. Are we expecting this to sort of turn it up to 11 now? We've got a maze for it in terms of some of the sweet treats we'd get.
Yeah, I could maybe see the tribute store food area getting themed to all based on around that. I think that would be pretty cool. Obviously, we don't know the theme of the tribute store, anything yet, or what it's going to be themed on. Even like previous years, like you could guess Stranger Things, Ghostbusters, all that sort of thing. So, but yeah, I think we've, like I've mentioned earlier, the food and drink is a big part of it. So I think we will be seeing some major sweets themed drinks and food offerings at the event.
A candy corn beer. Be a candy corn beer from Major Sweets.
I'll take a pass. I'll take a rain check.
You know full well if it's a candy corn beer, you're definitely trying it.
I'll try it, but for science, just for Liz, for science.
Just for science.
Yeah. Join us later for the video reaction.
Yeah, I tried the Chucky Burger just for science. That was
there. You go.
Yeah.
All right, Jason. I know we kind of covered it. For those who didn't listen, for those who may have forgot, Jason, just to kind of rehash your initial thoughts, reactions to this.
I'm a polar opposite on Gary. I was a fan of the Scare Zone. I'm excited to see it as a house version. If it is in the Fast and the Furious queue, I really would like to see the van in the outside portion of the house as like a loading dock. Just have some homage to that, and then maybe the end of the house is them getting ready to go out Halloween night for that parade float. Maybe we'll see a parade float in there or not. So kind of pumped to see. I think we're going to get some interesting smells. And if you want some more information on the house, listen to the podcast episode that Universal did, and you get a little bit of a nugget of information.
Yep, agreed. Liz, as well, just Major Sweet, just kind of rehash your thoughts.
Yeah, so I wanted to point out on Instagram, there's a little more information about this one too. So it has the same line about being a chaperone on the field trip, which I would never do. But it says this sweet tour is about to turn sour when free samples transform the kids into candy-coated killers wielding sharpened candies. So the kids are going on this tour, they're getting free samples, they're going crazy, and then for some reason they're sharpened candies and they're just going to start stabbing people, I guess. So
wow,
that was left out on Twitter, but yeah, it gives you quite the visual of the kind of scenes that it's once again going to be the kids crazy on candy. Attacking
when you
us.
get those creepy kids from like where we had in the schoolhouse, the trick or treat, those creepy kids they have.
Yeah. So
sorry, go on, Liz.
Yeah. So my question is, because this seems to be a prequel, right? This is happening before the parade. Is what kind of money does Major Sweets have to cover up this entire thing that happens at the factory that allows him to still sponsor the Halloween parade in the future? Because questionable.
That's right.
So I've got a question for you guys. I know you've already discussed, the rest of the announcements, but Fast and Furious, area we know is split into sort of two houses. It was done perfectly with the black phone in Freaky, and Chucky was sort of done good, even though the house was bad. Chucky was done good because you left the factory. You went outside, and then when you went back inside, it was as if you were in the truck. How do you think they are going to transition Major Sweets? Do you think it's going to be like, obviously the start of the tour is going to be the first part of the house, and then do you think that's when it transitions to when they go crazy? How do you think it's going to work? Ash, I'll pass it to you first.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way they can do it. That transition where we're in the we're obviously in the factory first. Maybe you can see then Major Sweets and Miss Sweets, and then maybe whoever they have helping are. It shows them what they're doing to the kids there on the field trip. The second half is now the kids are crazy killers. I think that sort of section will fit that nicely. The second one, all I'm hoping is the final bit is the sort of prelude to, go into the Halloween festival in Hollow Hills, just because it'd be tough to get both in there, because the podcast, like Jason said, did say the factory's on the other side of town, so they're not next to each other. But I hope he's packing the truck with weapons up ready to go to the parade. That's sort of my thoughts.
Jason, what about you?
So I put my thinking cap on. A couple years ago, we did get to go on a little tour for a certain house called Bugs, and we walked through, and it was going to be a tour of what was going on, and all anarchy, everything just went nuts. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe we get one room that's just kind of like that, and then halfway through, everything just goes nuts. The kids are eating the candy and just full blown people getting stabbed left and right with sharpened suckers, as you can say. Maybe we'll see a certain jack-o'-lantern sucker from a certain previous house that we had once upon a time, which would be kind of cool. But I think the second part transition is going to be them getting ready. That's my hope, at least, for the event, for the Halloween event, and loading up the sweets, loading up the weapons, scaring everybody. And then maybe the last room of the house is them on the truck. How we kind of entered in, with Chucky last year. We're on the truck in the first room. That's how it's going to end. That's my hope, at least. So,
Liz, anything to add?
Yeah, I think I'm with you guys. I think I'm with you on what your ideas are. I do think that little section kind of feels like you're in a factory on its own, because it has the stairwell, so they could put someone up on the stairwell like they did last year. Some of the nights we had a scare actor up there. I think they could easily have someone up there like warning us, like, don't go in there. It's like everything's going wrong. Don't go that direction. And we, of course, have to go that direction.
Awesome.
All right. Major Sweets. Yeah, I think everyone's hyped for this one. And I think that's the case with all of these that have been announced, just probably the unknown for now. But let's get on to the one we did cover as well. Haunted house announcement, Goblins Feast. Welcome to the Goblins Feast Tavern, and visit the Goblin Village, where a lavish feast is being prepared for goblins, orcs, hobgoblins, and witches. and you are the main course. All right, so this is rumored to be in one of those newer tents, which is apparently a little bit more claustrophobic, a little bit more close quarters. So, Gary, just your initial reactions on Goblins Feast.
Finally, a house where I will be the same height as all of the actors inside.
Apply. You should apply.
I know I should. I'll probably get
open auditions right now.
I know. Getting that out before Captain Tom texts me. Tell a lie. Who am I kidding? He's already texted me. But I'm excited for this house. It sounds fun. I love anything sort of to do with, like, I don't know how to describe it, sort of like role play game type stuff, you know, like adventure.
LARP fantasy?
Yeah, like fantasy kind of stuff, sort of like a bit like Game of Thrones vibes sort of thing. So I think it'll be very fun. And I do hope that we get some nice big beer flagons that we can drink grog out of and have a merry old time.
Okay, so Gary, Goblins Feast Tavern, that's got to either be maybe the facade or at least a big portion of maybe the start of the maze.
Yeah, and I definitely think we should get a food booth as well. That is a tavern where they sell some specialty drinks and some maybe some meat pies or something like that. That would be cool.
Oh, that'd be good. Like a little Goblin's grog, maybe a cocktail or something. That'd be cool. We talked about as well, Gary, are you getting any, I know this is tough because you didn't go in there, but Wicked Growth vibes we talked about? I don't want to give you PTSD, but give you even just the artwork?
Yeah, I could see the similarities when we tweeted it out. I think I only watched the walkthrough on that once because it still hurts to this day. But yeah, I can see the sort of similarities, but I hope it's not too similar. We don't want, you know, a straight up rip off or a copy unless it's like a sequel or a prequel. So I do hope they take some of the best bits out of that and use the inspiration to make it its own house. Because this is a story / theme that either hasn't been done for a while or hasn't been done at all. So I hope they really knock this one out of the park. And I can feel, I can sense the music's going to be good in this house as well. I think it's going to be sort of like, you know, fairy tale, string kind music. So I think it's going to be very cool. Yeah,
I'm on the exact same page. Love fantasy, and this is more of a unique sort of house that they don't do often. I mean, you know, like Goblin, Hobgoblins, Orcs, we don't really see those as scare actors a lot, you know. Back over when we did Islands in the Lost Continent, you know, they did have those sort of, you know, goblins sort of type fantasy world for those scare zones, so we haven't really seen it for a while. Dragons had a few of those big sort of ogres and trolls, whatever they had last year as well. So yeah, maybe like Scary Tales meets Wicked Growth would be really cool. I'm sort of on that same vibe as well. Liz, Goblins Feast, just to kind of re-go over anything you maybe may have thought of since, or yeah, talk to me.
Yeah, I think my initial reaction was going toward Wicked Growth and Halloween vibes, but the more people I've talked to, I could also see it going to the more fantasy realm, kind of pulling similar sets that we saw in Dueling Dragons, kind of leaning into the more like Dungeons and Dragons style rather than Halloween. But either way, I'm excited for it because, like we said, Goblins is something that they've never had their own house. If we've seen them before, it's been tucked in a scare zone or tucked in another themed house. So I'm curious to see how it all plays out with Goblins being like the forefront.
Yeah, and Dungeons and Dragons makes sense, and that sort of like fantasy role-playing world, you know. In Dungeons and Dragons comics, they always start in a tavern, right? They always start with their sort of quest starting from a tavern, and they go out, and it's orcs, hobgoblins, witches, whatever it may be. So it could be that, where maybe you know how you have like a party of, you know, people, they're sort of, you know, in the tavern, sort of do, you know, going over their quest and what to do, and then they go out and do it that way, maybe that more fantasy realm. Having thought about it, it could be sort of that vibe as well. And Jason, any different thoughts on Goblins Feast or just your reactions in general?
I actually have a question for Liz, not to put her on the spot. Did they give us any more tidbit of information on Instagram for the house?
Nope. Same. That's why I didn't mention it. It's the same description for this one.
Yeah, I thought I would try. No, I'm excited. You know, like I said before, I'm kind of excited to see. You know, it's unknown. We don't really know what's going to happen, and going in blind the fantasy realm, I can definitely see the whole Dungeons and Dragons vibe walking through the fantasy of the world that we're going to see. I'm just going to keep my blinders on and go in and see what happens. Kind of not do a little research on it, see how it goes this year.
Yeah, nice. Okay. So, any other thoughts on Goblins Feast before we go over the last one? Gary's ready for this last one. He is ready. All right. Haunted House announcement. Slaughter Sinema 2. If you're dying for a B-movie horror marathon, head to the Carey Drive-In. Scream through scenes from creature features, grindhouse gore, spaghetti westerns, and more. So, Gary, Slaughter Sinema 2, give me your thoughts.
I couldn't be more excited for this house. This house is just me. I think Slaughter Sinema 1, I ran over 20-something times in just the 8 days that I visited Horror Nights that year. So I was doing multiple runs a night, and I never had a bad run in that house. And you know me, Ash, I love cheesy 80s horror movies because, I talk about Chopping Mall and Chud and Sleepaway Camp and stuff, and it just, I don't know, there's just something about 80s cheesy horror, the practical effects and everything that just makes it so special to what movies are now. And when we designed our new logo, the designer Ashley went, "What's your inspiration?" I sent the Slaughter Sinema logo. So it's basically based around there. So I got nothing bad to say about this house. I know it's going to be a home run.
Yeah, everything, just even like the original commercial from Slaughter Sinema 1, just perfect. That voice, I love when credits roll, heads roll. I love it. Just could not be any better. But tell me, so let's go over this really, because I want to go over things that we went over the other day. So the scare actor who we had, so we know at least one of the movies, right? So are you expecting it to be 3D at all, or I mean, what are your thoughts there? Gary's emulating Jason and doing his ventriloquist impression.
I personally think I did it better.
I've only
probably forgot what you said.
Like
that was your best response ever.
So anywho, what I was saying is, I don't think the whole house will be 3D. Every room is going to be a different movie if it's following the same as one. And when you go to the cinema, not every movie's 3D. So I think you could walk through one room and they could give you that 3D effect without using 3D glasses, or maybe, as you're going in, they'll have a sign saying, "Please put on your 3D glasses." And then you go through that one room. But I think if it's not 3D, I think it's going to be like UV colors or very bright, judging on, the logo on the shirt that you've got on there, Ash, and the scare actor that we saw at the convention. So I don't think the whole thing will be 3D, but I think they could very well do one room 3D, whether it would be first, last, something like that. I think that would be cool to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, maybe have like the black light reflective UV paint for that one specific room would be pretty cool. Now, just in terms of the other one, then it says creature features, grindhouse gore, spaghetti westerns. Anything kind of spring to mind on maybe what else? Because it said we're going to get 8 new movies, right? So everything's going to be new. Anything you're expecting from like creature features, grindhouse gore, or spaghetti western? Anything spring to mind?
I'm not too sure. Maybe they could pay homage to some sort of 50s monsters, that sort of thing, on a new take. I do hope we get to see at least an Easter egg of Yeti, because he's his own celebrity now based from that house. He's had 2 of his own houses and a room in that house as well. So I would like to see some nods to the original. But I'm all down for 8 brand new baby. I was going to say Beast Babies. I'm down for 8 brand new Beast Babies. I'm down for 8 new movies, but I hope we get some nods like Beast Babies and Devil Dogs, because they were really cool ones as well.
Yeah, Beast Babies in grindhouse gore Beast Baby in the spaghetti western. I love it.
Yeah,
I love
8
it.
new movies about babies.
But we did say we are going to get callbacks to some. It's 8 new movies, but we are getting callbacks to some prior things. So Devil Dogs and Yeti's up there for you. I like it. Because we're going back to the Carey Drive-In, are we going to get the same facade? I don't know if it's going to be the exact same time frame, because I know it was all like 80s for Slaughter Sinema original. We know we're going back to the Carey Drive-In. Is it going to be a copy-paste job for facade? Or is it going to be a different, I don't know, it could be the 90s, noughties, I don't know, in terms of time frame?
Well, did that scare actor that they shown at Spooky didn't necessarily look too 80s to me. It looked more 90s, mid-90s to me. Okay, so maybe it's moved on 5-10 years into the future. Maybe it looks a little bit more run down, if that can be a thing, because it looked pretty run down to start with. But I do hope we get at least the movie credit roll thing playing as we are going through, in the old cars outside. I thought were a nice touch as well.
Yeah, and out of all of them, this is the one I wish we got a commercial for. Just similar to the original one. Didn't have to do exactly the same. They could have mixed it up a little bit, but just to have those few titles for the Slaughter Sinema. But Jason, anything to add to Slaughter Sinema 2?
Nothing to add. I am super, super excited, just like Gary. I know we'll be running this multiple times a night if we can. I don't care how far the walk is. I will be doing this multiple times a night. I'm very excited for it.
You say that now.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone, it's happening. I will walk. I don't care if I complain. I'm doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to go get those steps in the summer, prepare for it. And Liz, just final thoughts. I know we did our sort of initial reactions and talked about it the other day, but anything to add or just kind of rehash your thoughts in general?
I think the only thing I have to share is that I'm glad that this is the first house of the year, and I'm glad that they announced it at Spooky Empire with all the fans there, because I feel like it really kicked off this crazy spooky week of announcements, starting with Slaughter Sinema 2, one that I think so many people have wanted to see the sequel for, and sharing it for the fans with everybody there at Spooky Empire, I think was a great way to kick off announcement season. And I think we all have this one highly anticipated.
I agree. They're doing a good job this week. Like I said, we are going to get more things coming. Like I said, I assume we're going to have a podcast for each one of these. Yeah, but just so hyped for these. There's not really original on there. Even the Triplets of Terror, where it's like completely out of left field, there's no original on there where I'm thinking, oh, I'm not too excited for this one, just because that unknown as well. Now I've got more clarification on the museum one, Liz, that you went over on Instagram. I'm way hyped for that one now. That's just kind of shot up a little bit because of the different exhibits coming to life. But Gary, I'm going to put you on the spot. We've got 6 originals. I don't want to hype, and they're probably going to change. What is the most anticipated one right now? I'm just curious.
Slaughter Sinema 2.
Okay, Slaughter Sinema 2. Jason, out of those 6.
I mean, Slaughter Sinema 2. Can't go wrong with that.
Okay, Liz Museum. I am...
you know.
Oh, gosh. Goblins Feast for me. I'm just so excited for that one as of right now. Like I said, I don't want the hypes because it's going to change because we're going to get more info. And we're going to get 4 other mazes too. So it's definitely going to change. And I don't want to ruin our hype list episode. But just talking about scare zones, we're all in agreement that scare zones are going to be probably lumped together and released at some point in, I'd say maybe either late July, start of August, just because of those, what are we thinking? Like mid to late July?
I would think August for the scare zones.
Even with the Unmasking the Horror Tours going on from like the 13th, like the 12th or 13th it starts. I feel like they want the event set in stone before they start doing that personally, but what do you think?
I mean, the scare zones don't really have anything to do with the tours.
Right,
so I think as long as all the houses are announced by then, they could hold off on the scare zones and leave one thing for us in August.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that thought process, just because that's what they've been doing recently with those originals as well. I just feel like once they start those Unmasking the Horror, I feel like they want the event sort of set in stone personally. So scare zones will probably come together. Gary, what are we looking for now, do you think, on those last four? Well, three IPs and then the sort of one. Is it an IP? Is it not an IP? What do you think now in terms of schedule? One a month, maybe? June, July, August?
I think if they played it smart, one every 2 weeks, because we've got June and July, so that's about 8-9 weeks. So
yep.
if they did one starting next week, plus you've got the shows as well. Do they bum that in with the scare zones, or do they announce the shows separate? They've done such a good job with these 6 originals, it would be a shame just to lump stuff together.
Yeah.
Speculation and announcement season's a big part of Horror Nights now. And, if they just spread them out in an even sort of schedule, it would build hype so much more than just dumping everything at once, in my opinion. So IPs, obviously, I think they'll come next before shows and scare zones. Like Liz says, I think we'll get the scare zones the first week in August. That's what I think. And I think we could get an IP every 2 weeks from now. So
yeah,
probably won't. They might just drop everything. They might just drop everything at once too. You never know with Universal. So I can't see them dumping the IPs together, but who knows?
Yeah, Jason,
I wanted to say something. Universal just opened their tribute store. A couple days ago. I got lucky enough to go through it yesterday. And I saw something interesting in the tribute store. I don't know if we, really posted about it or talked about it. And just speculating here. They have an arcade cabinet that's under a curtain, and there's a big sign on it that says "Coming Soon," and no one knows what's going on with it. So we still have IPs and something else possibly coming that hasn't been announced yet. So I don't know if it's going to intertwine with what's going on. I don't know. We'll see. But I just thought it was interesting to see a big, huge curtain over an arcade cabinet, what it looked like. And there was a sign on it that said "Coming Soon."
Yeah, it's definitely plausible. Yeah, definitely plausible.
Nobody's talking about what me and Liz want to know, though. What's the dead coconut theme? That's all we're bothered about.
Exactly.
I did see a photo, though, in the tribute store where it was a beer mat and it was a tiki bar. So I'd be pretty hyped if we got a tiki themed dead coconut this year.
Yeah, and all the classic monsters were hidden in that coaster too. There was the bride's hair, there was Invisible Man's glasses, there's something for the Phantom. Like their classic monsters were hidden in that, so I could see that being it.
Give me a Monsters tiki bar, and they already sell the Monsters tiki cups. Living. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, I went through it yesterday, same as Jason, and I'm just looking at the picture I took. It's the Laguna Lounge. The Laguna Lounge, yeah. So, yeah, who knows? And they like to do, what they like to do is any tribute store that's coming next, they always sort of give little insight to it. Like the Halloween one will probably have something maybe for the Christmas tribute store, the Christmas then for Mardi Gras for them for summer. So they like to sort of intertwine everything, which is pretty cool. But, yeah, that's everything in terms of those 6 announcements. The commercial, anybody else, anything to add for any of these 6 original announcements? No? All right.
I'm very full.
Very full, yes. Yeah. I am too. They treated us well the last sort of, what was it, like 9-10 days or so, with those 6 originals coming in sort of a thick and fast span there. So yeah, very, very happy to have them all. In an ideal world, I'd get a commercial with each one, but I can't be too greedy. So that's it. We've got IPs to come. We're going to have episodes coming in the meantime for you guys, just so we have things to talk about. And then we'll have that always anticipated hype list from us towards the end of probably July, start of August, maybe around that time. So we'll see. But Gary, you've not done this for a while, so you knew it was coming. Where can people find the lovely people at the RIP tour?
People can find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm not even going to bother mentioning Threads. At RIP to our podcast. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, you know that we are on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio-only version, we are on YouTube as well, where you can watch all these shows live and see our lovely some lovely faces. And we are going to be doing some vlogs for Horror Nights this year. We're going to be doing some Scare Zone walkthroughs. Jason's going to Hollywood, so he might be doing some house walkthroughs. So we have a lot of stuff coming to the YouTube as well as the audio-only version as well. And I just wanted to mention as well, because we're doing pretty well, if you do enjoy the show, please remember to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. And you can also do it now on Spotify as well. It really helps the show get seen and all of the hard work that we all put into the show. So we'd be very grateful if you could do that. And be sure to leave a comment, subscribe, and drop that thumbs up on the YouTube. That would be great as well.
Gary, 11 out of 10. 11 out of 10. Nice job.
You see that to all the guys.
I'll give you a 12.
I heard you say that to Jason last week.
I'll give you a 12 because you kind of plugged the sort of liking and stuff. But I do want to piggyback on that as well, just in terms of like you guys who are watching, you guys who are listening. We appreciate everybody. Me and Liz actually went to Fear and Beer podcast trivia night the other night. We're speaking to tons of people who said they listened to the show, and it you know, it's not overwhelming. That's the wrong word, but I just really like, I can't believe, like, you know, you listen to me, you know, talk about this, because we don't get anything out of this financially. It's a passion piece for all of us. You know what I mean? We love people listening. Like Gary said, rating us on Spotify or Apple, you know, on Spotify. We have like 160 5-star reviews. So we are incredibly, incredibly grateful for that. If you're liking this format as well, where you're watching us on YouTube, there's going to be a lot of sort of Horror Nights content coming live in the parks as well. So don't forget, obviously, to like, subscribe. That definitely helps boost the channel, obviously. But Liz, anything to add from the other night as well? It's just nice to put faces to names and really talk to people just as passionate as we are.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who talked to us. It was great to meet some of you. We've talked to some of you online, but had never met in person before. So it's really fun to get to meet you guys in person. And I had an absolute blast at trivia, getting to see so much of the community out there having fun, sharing in the nerdy trivia, sharing in the knowledge, and just, it was a perfect timing for the event because it was right in the middle of all these announcements. So everyone was excited. Everyone was thrilled and ready. So again, thanks to Fear and Beer for having us out for that. It was a blast, and I've had a great time meeting those of you who are there with us, and can't wait to see everyone in the fog.
Yeah, could not agree more with what Liz said. There's only one stipulation. They said next time Gary has to be in town for the next one to go help represent the RIP Tour podcast. But yeah, everyone's been great. Everyone's fantastic. We love everybody who interact with us. So anybody else got anything to add before we get out of here? No? Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for listening once again. We appreciate you guys listening as always. We'll be back very soon. We're only 90-something days away, like Liz said. So from all of us here, thanks for listening again, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.